In today's Leeds news, Ljubicic Deal Off, Soloman update, Leeds rolling Sallai interest, Mishu Links and Ramazani speaks. Morning folks, Jay here on Friday morning the 23rd of August for your Leeds United news. Hope you've had a really good week so far. It's been a busy one in terms of players being linked, and that's not slowing down today either. Leeds transfer business appears to keep on moving forward after a very slow build-up. We finally saw Ramazani complete his move to Leeds United yesterday, and we'll now hope that Leeds can bring in the remaining targets that they need. We'll cover off some of that today and box off a couple of signings that were linked with Leeds over the course of this summer. We'll start off with the first one, and that is Dejan Ljubicic. Before we get to that, just a quick reminder, there will be a countdown to kick-off tonight, 45 minutes before kick-off. Myself and Andrew Stats-Dalton and maybe one or two other guests as well will have a chat about team news going into the game. So 45 minutes before the game kicks off, 7:15 this evening. You can check that out. So Ljubicic, what's the story with Ljubicic and where are we with this deal? Well, the long-running summer saga of Dejan Ljubicic to Leeds United may finally be coming to an end. Reports in Germany claim that Leeds United have ended their interest in the Austrian midfielder and are said to have moved on to other targets. Ljubicic was heavily linked with a move to Leeds United after the sale of Glenn Kamara this summer and was seen as a replacement for the player. Leeds did put in an initial £3.3 million offer for the player, but that was rejected, with the player being in the final year of his contract, which was a surprise, I think, to most people at Leeds. Leeds were rumoured to be following up with a second bid, but as of right now, that second bid never actually materialised, and Leeds didn't follow up their interest with a second bid in the player. Bild in Germany claimed that the deal has now fallen through, and Leeds are said to have opted against what's labelled as the financial risk signing in Ljubicic, whatever that means. Maybe the higher output of money wouldn't necessarily justify what's there, and maybe into a Premier League season potentially next season, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But Ljubicic has now said to have returned to full training with FC Cologne, and higher ups to the club are said to be very unhappy with the player's attempt to push for a move away from the club this summer. It should be said that Ljubicic could negotiate a pre-contract agreement with Leeds United in January over a free transfer next summer, should the player and Leeds still see value in that move, although it appears that Leeds may have been looking at Ljubicic for one season at least to get them up and might not see any value in the player beyond that. But that could be a deal that you never know in the last minutes of a window. If they decide they need the money, could pop up again. Cologne are still under transfer embargo, possibly not being able to get a replacement, and there's some of the reasons for them not wanting to play ball either. But he's a good player, and that's probably the main reason. But we'll move on from him and we'll move on to some targets that have been linked yesterday and give you some clarity around the deals that have been discussed. And the first one is Maynor Soloman, and according to Fabrizio Romano, Maynor Soloman will move from Spurs on loan before the end of the window next Friday. He rejected a move yesterday to Spanish side Getafe and is keen to remain in the UK if he can. Yesterday in the Yorkshire Evening Post's article about Ramazani, it was confirmed at the end of that article that Soloman was a player that Leeds were interested in. Now, whether that is just initial interest or concrete interest remains to be seen just now. Soloman is said to be viewed as an ambitious target for Leeds United in this window, but the age-old problem of not guaranteeing minutes might be what stops the player coming to Leeds United. But a player of Soloman's calibre might just back himself and think, yeah, I'll get into that team in a couple of weeks' time and hold myself in there for the rest of the year. So it will be interesting, but you would imagine there will be some low-end Premier League interest in the player as well. But as of right now, there's some interest in the player. No offer on the table just yet, but we'll see where that goes over the weekend and into next week. Another player that was linked yesterday and has appeared to gather a little bit more pace over the last 12 or so hours is Roland Sallai. More information is coming out around Leeds' interest and what has been labelled as Leeds' persistent interest in the player. The Hungarian attacker's interest, as I said, is being labelled in the local media as persistent, which is slightly more than we've heard from local media in the UK. So far this week, Manuel Benson, Calvin Stengs, Ilian Cabal and Sallai have all been linked with a move to Leeds United. Benson was described yesterday by Sasha Tavolieri as a second or a backup option for Leeds, as they wanted a right-footed and left-footed attacker in this window and had targets ahead of Benson. According to Hungarian outlet Mandiner, they claim the Leeds have been persistent suitors of the right-footed attacker. Graham Smith, in his Ramazani piece yesterday, also said that Sallai was a player that Leeds were interested in. Freiburg are noted as needing a sale in this transfer window. If they're to move for the targets that they want in this window, there is an attacker that they're interested in, but will need to sell first before they can buy that, and that might just play into Leeds' hands. A signing of the calibre of Sallai will be seen as something of a coup for Leeds, especially in the Championship. Whether they can get that deal done or not still remains to be seen. You would imagine again there will be other interested parties in the player. He's a full Hungarian international with 13 goals in 52 appearances, so there's a decent calibre player in there, and it might not be a necessarily easy deal to get done by Leeds by all accounts. Another player that was mentioned, and we're moving very much into rumour mill territory, but just to give you some information on this, according to RMC Sports, Eduard Mishu has decided to terminate his contract at Demirspor due to unpaid salaries, meaning the player now becomes a free agent. Reports claim that an unnamed Championship club are keen to bring Mishu back to England after his 22-23 on loan season at Sunderland. Mishu was linked with Leeds last season, but it never really got out of rumour mill territory into anything concrete, and it might be the same situation again this summer. Mishu is not the goal scoring number 8 that Daniel Farke might be looking for, but as a number 8 would be seen as a very attack minded and very good player in that position. Sunderland wanted to make the loan of the player permanent last year, and that may end up being his final destination. It is labelled as an unnamed Championship club. Leeds' name has been thrown into the hat as Leeds are looking for that position, but that happens quite easily with Leeds very often, and in this situation it could be a case that Sunderland are the team that are looking to bring the player back in, but we'll have to wait and see how things move. As a free agent, he's not in any rush to sign for a club before Friday. He can wait until after that and weigh up his options and take his time around getting a deal done should he decide to move back to the UK at all, and we'll have to keep an eye on that. He was a tidy player. He was linked with Leeds last year. There was a lot of people did scouting reports and looked at him last year, and it was an exciting link at the time, but never really materialised into anything solid. So as of right now, it's the same kind of situation. It's a name being linked, and Leeds' name could just very easily be thrown into the hat in order to kick other teams into gear and try and force teams to make a move for the player that they might have some interest in. But we'll again wait and see what happens with that over the next 8 days. We have to wait and see. And then finally today, to wrap up the news, we'll talk about the signing that did come through the door yesterday, and that's Largi Ramazani. Late yesterday evening, final confirmation, and a very smart and funny post from Leeds United went up with flight tracker apps and server checks from Flight 24 all went up on the post from Wilson and the Leeds digital team. So well done on that, very good post. But they confirmed that the signing of Largi Ramazani had been done and dusted, and he becomes Leeds' 5th signing of the summer. According to Sasha Teveleri, the deal is as follows. It is a €7.7 million deal up front, so about 6.9 million pounds, with a €4 million in add-ons. So again, about 2.9-ish million of add-ons. And then it also says there is a 15% added value sell-on clause. So that means whatever the difference is between what Leeds paid for him now and the profit on the sale, 15% of that profit will be due back to Almeria should Leeds decide to sell the player on. He signed a 4-year contract with an option for a 5th year, and it is a very good signing for Leeds United, and one that's possibly not come in time for tonight's game against Sheffield Wednesday, but will definitely be in Daniel Farke's arsenal going forward into next week. The player himself spoke about the move and said coming to Leeds was a no-brainer once he knew that they were interested in. They were a big club, and he wants to be part of pushing Leeds United back to the Premier Division. He talked about the project. We've heard all the signings talk about the project, and we haven't seen what the final version of this project looks just yet, and hopefully by next Friday that'll be much clearer, and we can all be very excited about what's going to happen with Leeds moving forward. As I said, excellent signing, 3 more to go. Ramazani described himself as a happy player and an exciting player, and will definitely get Leeds fans off their seats at moments during the season, and let's hope this has some very big moments for the club into this year and moving forward. He's going to have his best years of his career at Leeds United, and let's hope that they coincide with some very good times for Leeds in the next coming years. But more work to do. It's not done yet. 3 more. You could argue 4. But we'll take 3 at this stage. We've got the 4th one yesterday. Total 5 signings in the door already. If you can add 3 more, 8 signings. Not a bad window. Got rid of a lot of dead wood. But that bench needs strengthening for Daniel Farke again moving into the September deadline and then the rest of the season. We'll have to wait and see. Right, folks, that's going to be it for me today. You can check out last night's match preview with stats down below, or the podcast from this week is also available. And then we will have countdown to kickoff at 45 minutes before kickoff tonight, so 7:15 p.m. live stream with 7 stats, and maybe a couple of others floating around. You can check that out later on if you want to. Right, massive thanks as always for supporting the channel. I'll see you soon. Bye.